Welcome to F1 Blogs, and welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we give you that ultimate shortcut to getting properly informed about the really fascinating, often hidden stories inside Formula One.
Yeah, we don't just, skim the surface.
Exactly. We dig into the sources, pull out the key insights, and hopefully serve them up with a bit of perspective to keep you hooked.
And today, we've got a really compelling one. We're going to unpack the, let's say, intense on-track moments between the McLaren teammates, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri at the Austrian Grand Prix.
Right.
And what makes this so interesting is that it happened right after they actually, collided in Canada.
Yeah, that timing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the really fascinating bit is how McLaren, specifically Andrea Stella, the team boss, saw these two incidents so differently. We'll dig into what their reactions tell us about the driver's racecraft, their pace, and maybe those unspoken team rules.
For sure. And our guide for this is a really detailed analysis from F1 Blogs. It gives some brilliant insights into the drivers' heads and, crucially, the team's thinking. So if you want to look beyond just the results and get into the real dynamics, well, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so Austria. The F1 Blogs piece called this the first proper wheel-to-wheel fight between Norris and Piastri. They had a bit of a scrap at the start, but it was later on things got really close.
Yeah.
So picture Piastri diving down the inside of Norris at turn 4. He comes in really hot, locks up dramatically, smoke pouring off the tires, that awful sound.
That's great.
And he just missed him.
Wow.
Barely. It looked incredibly close, super aggressive, even though they didn't touch.
And that's the fascinating part, isn't it? The F1 Blogs analysis points out that even though there was zero contact in Austria, McLaren seemed, less impressed with that near miss than the actual collision in Canada, which sounds backwards at first.
Totally.
But for McLaren, the key thing in Austria was that Oscar wasn't fully in control in that moment. That lockup, even avoiding contact, was the signal.
The evidence.
Exactly. That's why the radio message came almost straight away. Rein it back. Basically, ease off. Stop pushing quite so hard.
That contrast is just wild. A real crash in Canada, cars hitting each other, versus this super close call in Austria, no damage done.
Yeah.
And yet, the team comes down harder on the near miss. It makes you think, okay, what's the philosophy here? Are they being overly cautious, or is there something deeper?
Well, that's the question. And the answer seems to lie in what Andrea Stella said about Canada afterwards. He explained that a big factor in that collision was Piastri's car dehorating.
Ah, okay. So losing battery power unexpectedly.
Precisely. These F1 hybrid systems are complex. When it derates, the car suddenly loses power, slows down way more abruptly than anyone expects.
Right, especially the guy following closely.
Exactly. So that unexpected power cut was a huge unforeseen contributor. It wasn't really about driver error or aggression. It was more of a technical gremlin.
Ah, okay. So that explains why Canada was seen as benign, as they put it. Because of the power issue, there was no aggressor. It wasn't one driver being reckless. It just sort of happened because of the car.
Right. It wasn't seen as a test of their driving standards or judgment, just, bad luck, a technical thing.
Yeah.
Takes the heat off the drivers internally, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely.
Which brings us back to Austria. If Canada was benign, Austria wasn't. The analysis suggests Piastri was seen more as the one, pushing things, trying to force the issue.
Okay.
That lockup, even without contact, showed he'd gone a bit too far, wasn't fully in control. And that was a test of the team's rules of engagement. They want hard racing, sure, but controlled racing. No unnecessary risks.
And that lockup wasn't just about team perception, was it? It had a real impact on his race.
Oh, absolutely.
That big slide gave him a flat spot on the tire. Wearing one patch down, that ruins the balance, the grip.
Horrible vibration sometimes.
Right. So while Norris pitted on schedule, Piastri had to stay out longer on that damaged tire, losing time, losing pace, put him on the back foot straight away.
And earlier in that stint, before the lockup, there was maybe this illusion of pace from Piastri.
How so?
Well, if you were just watching, you might think Oscar was clearly faster, just stuck behind Lando. But a lot of that was DRS, the drag reduction system.
Right, the rear wing opening for extra speed.
Yeah. Lando, meanwhile, was being clever. He was managing his battery, maybe giving up a tiny bit of time in the middle sector where there's no DRS.
Saving the energy.
To make sure he had enough boost to defend properly in the DRS zones. So Oscar looked quick, but it was partly DRS and partly Lando playing the strategic game, not just raw underlying pace difference at that point.
But then later in the race, second stint, clean air for both.
Yes.
Lando was just faster, full stop. This is where he really seemed to make the difference. Piastri had fresher tires, theoretically should have been maybe 0.2 quicker per lap.
Which is a decent chunk in F1 terms.
Huge. Enough to normally close up an attack. But Lando didn't just hold him off, he pulled away. He was consistently about 0.1 faster himself.
Incredible stint management.
It was a total masterclass, wasn't it? Just understanding the tires, knowing exactly how hard to push, when to conserve. It just completely neutralized Piastri's potential advantage and basically killed the race off for him. Oscar couldn't get near it. That's serious control.
And it feeds into his racecraft, which, let's be honest, has sometimes been a bit of a question mark. Maybe seen as less aggressive sometimes.
Perhaps, yeah, compared to some others.
But in Austria, he showed real skill and maturity. Forget Piastri's turn 4 dive for a second. A few laps before that, turns 3 and 4 again. Lando was really smart. Piastri got a run, got alongside, briefly ahead into turn 3.
Right.
But Lando was, as the source said, really patient, really clever. He let Piastri go slightly ahead, didn't fight a losing battle right there.
Didn't panic.
No, and then immediately used his own DRS down the next straight towards turn 4 to get the place back cleanly. That's not just reacting. That's thinking ahead, playing the long game, using the track's features. Very mature.
It does feel like that track, the Red Bull Ring, it just kind of invites incidents, doesn't it?
It does seem to.
Short lap, big braking zones, long DRS straights. It just encourages close racing. F1 blogs mentioned Verstappen and Lando clashing there before. And you can go back further. Senna Prost, Rosberg Hamilton. It just breeds action, which makes Lando's patient approach even more impressive, resisting that temptation.
Yeah, definitely. And this whole weekend for Lando, describing it as Verstappen-esque, feels, well, pretty accurate.
It does.
It really felt like a new level from him. The consistency, the control, the pace, pole position, faultless race. It's quite a contrast to some past weekends where maybe, Q3 didn't quite come together.
Or a small mistake crept in.
Exactly. Or a crucial error in the race. Here, he just looked completely commanding. Even missing FP1, he jumped in and was immediately on it, looked totally at one with the car.
So what's behind it? This leap? Is it just confidence?
I think confidence is definitely part of it. You can almost feel it. It seems palpable. But the F1 blogs analysis also suggests mechanical changes might be key, specifically new front suspension.
Ah, okay. How does that help?
Well, for a driver, suspension changes can tackle those sensitivity issues they sometimes talk about. If the car felt maybe unpredictable on the limit before.
Less trusting.
Yeah, exactly. If the new suspension makes it more predictable, more stable, it gives them the confidence to consistently push closer to that limit, to trust the car completely.
Makes sense. More trust, more speed, more consistency.
Potentially, yes. And now, Silverstone, his home race. That's the immediate test, isn't it?
Right.
Can he keep this consistency going? And can McLaren maintain this level of performance? Stella mentioned 3 things helping in Austria. Track suited the car, upgrades worked perfectly, and the temperatures were just right.
So a bit of a perfect storm for them.
Maybe. So the big question is, can Lando carry this form to a different track, maybe different weather? It'll be fascinating to see how he and Piastri stack up next time out.
It really will. And that kind of wraps up this deep dive, doesn't it? We've gone way beyond just the race result in Austria. Yeah. We've looked at the tricky dynamics inside McLaren, how they handle these incidents, even ones without contact, and what that tells us.
Yeah, the strategy behind a lockup, the illusion of pace, and Lando's step up.
Definitely a step up in racecraft and consistency. It really shows you the sort of calculated thinking in these teams, the pressure, that constant hunt for perfection.
It does leave you with a thought, though. If one single incident, one lockup, without contact, can have such a big impact on how a team sees things and on the race itself, what does that tell you about the level of precision required?
Yeah.
The control, the mental pressure. It's just immense at this level. It's way more than just driving fast, isn't it?
Absolutely. Every tiny detail matters.
Oh.
Well, if you find this stuff as fascinating as we do, make sure you subscribe to the F1 Blogs channel. We'll have more deep dives into the world of Formula One coming your way.
Definitely stick around for the next one.